Hello everybody and welcome to example D, the last of the 4 seal design tutorials. Now before we commence with the calculation, it's time to just recap on understanding what a split seal is. First of all, what does it look like? So unlike a double seal, the small stone is where the difference occurs. Effectively, instead of one layer of small stone, there are 2 layers of small stone. Now, when we define a split seal, it's a double seal in which the top layer of aggregate is split into 2 applications. So effectively, this came about because there used to be a shortage of the 13.2 and 19 mil stone. So the first application of the top layer is normally done without a penetration coat. So basically, once the big stone is laying down, it's filled in with a 6.7 mil stone immediately. Now, if there is no binder anchoring the first layer of 6.7 mil stone, it's known as the dry method. Whereas if they put a bit of a emulsion down between the first layer of 6.7 stone on top of the big stone, it's known as the wet method. So there's a special table that guides us as to the spray rates and spread rates, and this is table 7.10. And some of you will have discovered this and understood it perfectly fine, but I'm doing this just to support everyone's understanding. So if we just look at the dry method is where they put down the first layer of small stone without any binder to bind it to the big stone. You'll see here there's a blank there. There's no binder between the big stone and the first layer of small stone. So there are 2 layers of 6.7 mil stone, and the volumes or the spread rates of that binder is explicit at these values, and the spread rate of the stone is explicit at these values. I'm certain that they can be somewhat higher if more stone is put down. The spread rates, if the spread rates are higher, then of course the binder rates might be higher, but generally these are the preferred values. So if we were to do a calculation on a split seal, this table would come into play. So no matter what we've calculated, we would have to observe these as minimum spray and spread rates. So it's very important to understand whether a fog spray, whether a bitumen emulsion paint coat is available or not, to understand if we're using the dry method or the wet method. So now we move into the calculation, and as we look at it, it says that terrain comprises of steep gradients with traffic at 24,000. So as we're dealing with steep gradients, we have to subtract binder, typically at 10%. Further on, it talks about the corrected bore penetration value on the section is 2.2. But given that it is a split seal and that it's on an incline, the maximum bore penetration value we will look at is 2. And lastly, the texture depth, there will be no texture depth adjustment for a split seal. That's a given, and the fact that we're on a gradient is another reason why there will not be a texture depth adjustment. So we proceed by calculating the ALD, which is 16. And then we go to the 16 graph over here. Let me just show you that it is the 16 double seal. So 24,000 divided by the 2 millimeter CBPR line intersects at between 1.95 and 2. I've opted to go with 2. So we go to the bottom of the graph. 2 intersects with the minimum line at 1.87. And to just observe the maximum of 2 as well. Why do we use the 0.7 texture depth line? Because it's the closest one to 0.6. I don't want to use 1 because it's too high. So now that I've got my 2 binding lengths, I focus on the minimum because they want us to focus on the lean seal. Alright, 1.87 needs to be adjusted by taking away 10% for gradient and taking off the fog spray. So we do that, we take 10%, which is 0.187, and we take off the fog spray. Now why is the application rate for the fog spray 1? Well, we come back to this table, and our special table only be to use for split seals where the base stone is 19 mil. It says there that the fog spray application rate is 1. So we are given 50% of the binder must be used and it's watered down, 55% split and 60% concentration of binder. So that works out to 1.68 liters per meter squared. And then we need these two factors over here, and these come from the tables above because we're dealing with the EC2 binder. So 106 is the hot factor, and we use a modification factor of 1.1. Why? Because it's a split application and ELV is greater than 20,000. So you must please cite your table numbers, you must refer in your calculation. Anyway, so we also put on a tolerance factor. Let's go back to the question. It's mentioned there. So tolerance means add. So even though we're not adjusting for texture depth and we're taking off a gradient, we sort of bounce back with this tolerance factor as well. So it all works out in the end. So when we multiply out this 168 by these factors, we get 2.06. Now, if we go back to our table 7.10, it says there that the combination of tack coat and pen coat 1.1 must not be less than 2.1 basically. So when we look here, we've got 2.06. So automatically we have to say, nope, it's less than 2.1, so you have to use 2.1. So therefore 2.1 breaks up into 1.1 and 1 respectively for tack and pen coat. And subsequently we will use these stone values as well, because they are specified. So of course, if we were to use more stone, we would then obviously have to use more binder, but because we're using the minimum application that's on the table, these stone values will correspond. And remember that the first layer of 6.7 mil stone is high at 300 because you are filling in the gaps created by the big stone to create that tight cohesive matrix. So thank you everybody, and just remember that in the split seal you do not use appendix H, you do not use appendix F at the bottom here, you use the values from the table specifically. Okay, thank you for your time.